Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most dramatic and fast-moving developments in the war between Russia and Ukraine, a moment that many analysts are calling a turning point. Russia caught off guard as Ukraine launches a twin blitz, and in just hours, the front lines that seemed frozen for months were suddenly shaken. What happened, how it unfolded, and why it matters is what we are going to break down step by step. For months, the battlefield had been defined by grinding attrition, long artillery duels, incremental advances measured in meters, and defensive fortifications stretching across hundreds of kilometers had created the impression of a static conflict. But wars often change not in slow motion, but in bursts of speed. That is exactly what appears to have happened when Ukrainian forces executed coordinated offensives along two critical axes, forcing Russian units into rapid and, in some places, chaotic responses. The first axis focused on eastern sectors, where Russian troops had invested heavily in layered defensive lines. These fortifications included anti-tank ditches, minefields, reinforced trenches, and pre-sighted artillery positions. For months, these lines were presented as nearly impenetrable barriers. However, Ukraine's strategy shifted from direct frontal assaults to a combination of precision strikes, mobility, and intelligence-driven operations. Instead of battering against the strongest points, Ukrainian units probed for weaknesses, exploiting gaps created by overextended Russian deployments. The second axis struck further south, targeting logistics corridors and command infrastructure. Modern warfare is not just about holding territory, it is about sustaining it. Supply routes, ammunition depots, fuel storage, and communications hubs are the backbone of any army in the field. Ukrainian forces reportedly synchronized drone surveillance, long-range precision strikes, and rapid ground maneuvers to disrupt these lifelines. When supply chains falter, even well-fortified units become vulnerable. What made this twin blitz particularly effective was timing. Military analysts have long emphasized that surprise is one of the most powerful weapons in warfare. Russia had concentrated significant manpower and equipment in certain regions, assuming that Ukrainian operations would continue in predictable patterns. Instead, Ukraine altered its tempo. The attacks were launched under conditions that minimized advance warning, leveraging electronic warfare to interfere with communications and using decoys to mask real movements. Within hours, reports began to surface of Russian positions being abandoned. In some sectors, defensive lines that took months to build were compromised in less than a day. While it is important to approach early battlefield claims with caution, multiple indicators pointed to a sudden shift in local momentum. Videos circulating online showed rapid Ukrainian advances into previously contested zones, capturing equipment and forcing Russian troops to retreat to secondary lines. The psychological dimension of this operation cannot be overstated. Warfare is not only about territory, it is also about morale. When soldiers believe their defenses are solid, they fight differently. When those defenses are breached quickly and unexpectedly, confidence can erode. For Russian forces, the shock of facing simultaneous offensives likely strained command structures and decision-making processes. Units forced to react to multiple threats often struggle to coordinate effectively. Another critical factor was the use of drones. Ukraine has consistently demonstrated innovation in drone warfare, from reconnaissance to strike capabilities. By saturating the battlefield with unmanned systems, Ukrainian forces gained real-time intelligence and the ability to target high-value assets with precision. Russian artillery positions, armored vehicles, and even command posts became more exposed. The ability to see and strike quickly created a feedback loop that amplified the impact of the offensive. On the Russian side, logistical challenges compounded the shock. Moving reinforcements across vast distances requires time and secure transport routes. When those routes are threatened by precision strikes, the process slows dramatically. Reports suggested that some Russian units were forced to redeploy hastily, leaving other sectors thinner than planned. This redistribution of forces can create cascading vulnerabilities, where defending one breakthrough opens the door to another. It is also important to consider the broader strategic context. Ukraine has received substantial military assistance from Western partners, including advanced artillery systems, armored vehicles, and training support. While the specifics of each operation remain classified, the cumulative effect of the support has been to enhance Ukraine's ability to conduct coordinated multi-axis offensives. The Twin Blitz was not an isolated event, but the product of months of preparation and adaptation. Russia, for its part, has relied on depth and mass. Defensive belts were constructed with the expectation that any Ukrainian advance would be costly and slow. In many areas, that assumption held true for extended periods. However, static defenses are only as strong as their weakest link. Once a breach occurs, mobility becomes critical. If reserves cannot seal the gap quickly, the breach can widen into a rupture. Overnight shifts on the battlefield often create confusion in the information space as well. Competing narratives emerge, each side highlighting successes and downplaying setbacks. Independent verification takes time. What is clear, however, is that the perception of momentum matters almost as much as actual territorial gains. A sudden, dramatic operation can influence international opinion, domestic morale, and diplomatic calculations. The Twin Blitz also underscores a fundamental lesson of modern warfare. Adaptability is essential. Both sides have adjusted tactics repeatedly since the conflict began. Early phases emphasized armored thrusts and large-scale maneuvers. Later phases shifted towards artillery dominance and fortified lines. Now, precision, drones, and rapid exploitation are shaping outcomes. The ability to integrate technology with traditional maneuver warfare is redefining the battlefield. For Russian leadership, the immediate challenge is stabilization. Preventing localized breakthroughs from expanding requires rapid reinforcement, effective communication, and clear command directives. Any hesitation can be costly. History shows that once defensive lines begin to unravel, restoring cohesion becomes exponentially harder. The coming days after such an operation are often decisive. For Ukraine, sustaining momentum presents its own challenges. Offensive operations are inherently riskier than defensive ones. Advancing forces can outpace their own supply lines. They become exposed to counterattacks. Success depends on careful coordination, disciplined execution, and the ability to consolidate gains quickly. Holding newly captured positions is just as important as taking them. International observers are closely watching these developments. The conflict has far-reaching implications for European security, global energy markets, and geopolitical alignments. A sudden shift in battlefield dynamics can alter diplomatic calculations. Allies may reassess the scale and type of support they provide. Adversaries may reconsider their strategies. Every major operation sends signals beyond the immediate front lines. There is also the human dimension. Behind every map update are individuals experiencing the consequences of rapid change. Civilians in contested areas face displacement and uncertainty. Soldiers confront intense combat conditions and life-altering decisions. The speed of the Twin Blitz highlights how quickly circumstances can change for those on the ground. Strategically, the concept of a twin blitz reflects the principle of forcing an opponent into dilemmas. By attacking in two places simultaneously, Ukraine compelled Russian commanders to divide their attention and resources. Concentrating too heavily on one axis risks collapse on the other. Spreading forces thinly weakens overall resilience. This kind of operational design aims to overload the enemy's decision-making capacity. Technology has amplified the effectiveness of such tactics. Real-time satellite imagery, encrypted communications, and precision-guided munitions enable smaller units to achieve outsized effects. The traditional image of massive armored columns has given way to dispersed, networked formations capable of rapid concentration at critical points. This transformation is evident in the way the Twin Blitz unfolded. Another key element is intelligence. Accurate targeting depends on reliable information. Whether through reconnaissance drones, signals intelligence, or other sources, identifying weak points and high-value targets is essential. Surprise is rarely accidental. It is the result of careful analysis and planning. The speed with which Ukrainian forces exploited openings suggests a high level of preparation. As the dust settles, analysts will debate the long-term significance of this operation. Was it a temporary disruption or the beginning of a broader shift? Much depends on follow-up actions. If gains are consolidated and expanded, the Twin Blitz could mark a turning point. If counterattacks reclaim lost ground, it may be remembered as a dramatic but limited episode. One thing is certain, the narrative of a completely static front line has been challenged. The sudden shattering of certain positions demonstrate that even entrenched conflicts can experience sudden swings. That unpredictability keeps both sides in a constant state of vigilance. No defensive line is permanently secure. Looking ahead, both militaries will likely adjust. Russia may reinforce vulnerable sectors, deepen defenses, and increase counter-drone measures. Ukraine may refine its approach, seeking additional opportunities to exploit weak points. The cycle of adaptation continues, driven by experience and necessity. For viewers trying to understand what this means, it is important to avoid simplistic conclusions. Warfare is complex and fluid. A single operation, no matter how dramatic, is part of a larger mosaic. Yet moments like this capture attention because they reveal the dynamic nature of the conflict.